Welcome to the Parish Porch. Sophia today is going to speak her voice from LIGO in Livingston Parish. LIGO is an acronym for a mouthful of a statement, which is Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. Now, try to say that while you're chewing bubble gum. That's going to be tough. So, LIGO is one of two. Am I right? One of two of these devices that are built in the entire world. And we have one here in Livingston Parish. So we're going to learn about it today. This is cutting edge science. As a matter of fact, an entire new scientific branch really has came out of this. Is that right, Sophia?
Correct.
So let's start with the basics and let's please try to explain these things like we're school children. Okay. So we're fifth graders coming in to visit you. And so what is a gravitational wave?
That is a great question.
Thank you.
So the best way to do it is if you take your fist and you shake it really hard, your fist is a mass and you are actually creating a gravitational wave because gravitational waves are waves that come from moving masses. Except the ones that LIGO is interested in detecting are happening millions of miles away from us. And it causes ripples through the universe. So if you were to throw a stone into like a really still pond or a body of water, what does the stone do when you throw it? It splashes and then it ripples out. So that's what's happening out in the universe. These ripples are starting from a center event, which is what we are detecting. It's usually black holes colliding together, neutron stars colliding together, or black hole and neutron stars colliding together, and then sending out. And it's this violent event that sends out an immense amount of energy that ripples through the universe and will pass through Earth. And our instruments are the ones that detect them.
And I mean, so it's violent is like a interesting way to describe it. I mean, but it's such a good description actually. Because so when a black hole is created, right? I, so for people, we'll try to give some kind of an explanation. Um, Essentially, what's happening is an implosion of of matter instead of an
Mm-hmm.
explosion, an implosion of matter tearing a hole in the literal fabric of space time, the
So
literal fabric, right?
the tearing is a very interesting theory.
Right, right.
So if anyone has ever watched the movie Interstellar,
There you
the
go.
one with Matthew McConaughey, um, I like to joke that that should have been a LIGO movie and not a NASA movie. But and I say that because the scientific reference person on that movie was Dr. Kip Thorne, who is one of the co-founders of this project. And so this like tearing and wormholes and all of that come from these theories. Like this could happen in the universe. We don't have enough evidence to say that yet, but there are these theories about it. So when it does come to black holes and neutron stars, we talk about them together, but the main difference of them has to deal with their size. And when we talk about things out in space, we're talking about massive objects. Like they're so big that instead of dealing with huge numbers, we just give them new units. So I like to tell people, like, what would you rather have in your pocket right now? 100 pennies or a dollar bill? What would you rather have? Right? You would either have a dollar bill, they're equivalent, but it's way lighter and it's way
Yeah,
easier to deal with.
yeah.
And so we have to use new units for these lengths out in space, these masses out in space. So when we talk about the size of black holes and neutron stars, we talk about them in terms of our sun. So how many solar masses, so the base unit being a solar mass is how big our sun is. So these black holes can be anywhere from 5 times the size of the sun to hundreds of times bigger than the size of the sun. And so when you have these massive bodies out in space, they will eventually, if they get close enough, they'll start to kind of go around each other and what we say coalesce. So they go around each other and then combine. And so I
Yeah.
like to think about it as these are massive things. And so if you've ever been on a trampoline, and if you've either been one of kind of two people on a trampoline, the biggest person on the trampoline or the smallest person on the
Yeah.
trampoline,
Yeah.
right? And when you get on a trampoline, if you're the bigger person, what do? Right? You bend that trampoline more than the smaller, like the kids or whoever else is on the trampoline with you. So the bigger the person, the bigger that dip in that trampoline is going to be, and you can affect everyone else on the trampoline. So, right, we tend to double bounce cousins or double bounce siblings, and that all has to deal with a property of mass. Like the bigger that person is, the more effect they're going to have on the smaller people. So if we think
Right.
about it out in space, we have these massive black holes really bending space time, right? When we talk about the fabric of the universe, it's really bending space time. And you can kind of think about it like a trampoline because it does bend. And so the heavier it is, the more it's going to kind of pull down. And sometimes we see images of this really kind of like conical, like pulling down all the way down to a point. And so with the movie Interstellar, they do talk about like, oh, if we could make it into the center of those black holes, like what would happen? And so that's where like our physicists and astrophysicists like add to that. Like, could we do it? What would happen? Those kinds of things.
So whether it literally tears it or not, out for debate. But if you could imagine a really big person sitting in the middle of the trampoline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the kids get on. All
Mm-hmm.
the kids are just going to roll down to the middle, and the trampoline is the fabric of space time. It's going to be
Correct.
this cone that goes down like a snow cone. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be this cone that goes down, and then oh, am I right about this? Really the only difference with the black hole and the neutron star, not really the only difference, but with the neutron star, you still can get a little bit of light emission, or no?
With I don't think so.
Okay, okay,
But that might need to be checked. But I don't think there's going to be any light emission with that. But right, if you have that big person in that trampoline and all those kids around him, what
yeah,
happens to those kids? They get kind of sucked into the middle.
yes,
And so the smaller it is, this so their effect on the big one isn't seen as much as like the big one on the smaller ones. So when we talk about detections, all the detections that we've had, so since our first detection, which is really kind of cool because we are in our 10-year anniversary of the first detection, we've had over 200, and it's a myriad of binary black holes. That's the one we get the most of. So that's two black holes together. We'll get two neutron stars together, and the ones we really enjoy trying to find or prove are the black hole and a neutron star because it's a little more difficult to pull the size out of them. Like what size is the black hole versus the size of the neutron star? And so when we have those, they will so just like the kids on the trampoline, they will kind of get closer together. Those black holes have a gravitational pull towards each other, and they will go around each other, just like a coin drop, like how they used to have at malls, and they would go around and around, and it had a like cone at the bottom, and then it's like suck up your quarter. They do that until they coalesce and they combine, and then they make this bigger black hole. And the
yeah,
gravitational wave that comes out of that is going back to that pond, that rock in a pond, where you have that violent explosion in the middle, that splash, and then it ripples out.
yeah. And so it's rippling the literal fabric of space time, right? The stuff
Mm-hmm.
that, everything is basically made of it. And so now the interesting thing, so I whipped up Chat GPT real quick, and I asked it about the neutron stars, and it says uh, a neutron star can emit visible light. Some of them do not. Uh, when they do emit light, though, a lot of times it's in not in visible spectrum. It's radio waves, X-rays, gamma rays,
Mm-hmm.
ultraviolet light. But a pulsar can also come from a neutron star, according to ChatGPT. And then the black hole is just like nothing's coming out of that, you know?
Yeah, and so we call it a black hole because the fastest thing that we understand as scientists and as humans is light.
Right,
That's the
right.
fastest thing we understand. And so light cannot escape a black hole. So that's why we call it a black hole, right? We say, like, oh, it just sucks everything up. It's like the gravity is so strong on it that it cannot escape. So if I were to throw, let's say, if I were to throw a baseball, right, what eventually will happen? I will throw it and then it will come back down to Earth. If I were out in space and I try to throw it, I would have to throw it fast enough to for it to escape the velocity, like the pull of the Earth, so they would make it off the Earth.
Yeah.
The black hole, that gravity is so strong that
Yeah.
light isn't escaping out of it. So that's why
Right.
we will call it a black hole.
Yeah. And so these two things collide, this ripple goes out. Now, the interesting thing that just blew everybody's mind is that human beings could build a machine to detect this.
Mhm.
And this is so complicated that Einstein came up with this prediction that we would that the collision of these or the convergence of these black holes would cause this ripple. But then he threw it away because he said, "Boy, there's no way we're going to be able to reasonably test it." But then time passed, and starting in the 70s,
Mhm.
people started looking at this deeper, and and then once you say Kip Thorne got involved, and he brought in the a marriage between Caltech and the National Science Foundation, and so they were able to get the funding to go ahead and build these observatories. Now, how did Livingston in Louisiana, out of all the places in the world, get picked to build something on the edge of human capabilities, right? I mean, Livingston, like, why Livingston?
This is my favorite question. So when it comes to this project, you're right. So Einstein did, he predicted gravitational waves in his theory of general relativity, which a lot of people may not know, but E equals mc squared. That was his famous equation. We see it on bumper stickers and coffee mugs. We see it all over the place, and we associate Einstein correctly with it. And what is that? What does that equation say? E stands for energy, M is mass, and C is the speed of light squared. And essentially, this is what we're proving, right? When it came to our first detection, it was between two black holes. One was 36 solar masses, the other was 29. So when we add them together, we should have a black hole that is 65, right? If we conserve matter. However, that matter was transformed into energy, so the E that travels. And so that resulting black hole was actually 62. So three solar masses of energy were released in that first detection. And that's what Einstein predicted. So, like you said, he predicted it, but he's like, we will never have the technology to do this. Just no way.
Yeah,
And scientists, I always joke that scientists are kind of petty people because they love to prove each other wrong or
yeah,
right. And it's always for the better of humanity because you have to prove yourself, right? Right? You have to have the evidence to do this. So, yeah, so proving Einstein correct has been an ongoing feat for a long time. So there have been a lot of failures in some of these scientific investigations and experiments, which is great. Like when we fail, we learn the most from it. And so when it came to the using the interferometer, it is a Michelson interferometer, which is it takes a laser light and it splits it into two beams. So there, when it comes to lasers, they have two beams that go into it, like when we talk about polarizing sunglasses. And so we split it into two directions, and then we reflect that light uh, between mirrors, and then we bring it back together. And so the thought of this project and wanting to do it is took a really long time because there were a lot of failed experiments first. And so people used like one of the earlier ones was called a Weber bar. I love bringing that one up because he was a professor out of the University of Maryland, which is my alma mater, and so I feel like that connection to it. But it wasn't successful. There was a lot of issues with it and having to deal and take out ground vibration. So when this project came to be, they so it wasn't just Kip Thorne. Kip Thorne was a part of a team with Dr. Barry Barish and Dr. Ray Rice. And so Caltech and MIT are both partners with this. And so between the two, and put up this idea towards the National Science Foundation, and that is how we are funded, is through the National Science Foundation. So through tax dollars, to put this project together. Like, how can we do this? And so they always knew they wanted to build two, right? Like how we have two ears, and two ears helps us with directionality. Where are sounds coming from? If I know something's coming towards the right side, my right ear will pick it up first, and then I will turn my head and figure out where that sound is coming from. But I don't have to see it to know it, because that ear picks it up first. So the idea
Let
was,
me ask you, let me interject right there. So they built two so that once they detected something, they would be able to know where it was coming from out in the universe and
to
pinpoint
help
it.
with it.
Is
Yeah.
that right? I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was, the plan was always to build two to help with that pinpointing of
Yeah.
location, but also to rule out um, earthbound things. Right. So
Yes.
when the problem, one of the big problems we have is like, we are on the planet, and the planet is always moving. Like, so as humans, like, we're really loud. The cars that we drive, the amount of deliveries we get, the trains that go by, thunderstorms, right? Hurricanes, earthquakes, the ground is always moving. So having two helps to separate out some of these noise, because that gravitational wave will pass through the earth and it'll hit both locations.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so when it came to the two, it was part of a proposal. So there was a handful of sites, and Livingston and Hanford, which is our sister observatory out in Washington State, were a pair. There were a few others like Vegas and Maine, Syracuse and like Tennessee. So there were a bunch of other pairings that were up for this proposal to have the locations to have these labs built. One of my favorite kind of fun facts about it is that the Hanford site where our lab is the same Hanford site that produced plutonium for the atomic bomb.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so if you've ever seen the movie Oppenheimer, they talk about the Hanford site, and that's where they produce plutonium. So I joke,
Wow.
I watched the whole movie for my Wikipedia, be like, this is the same place. And so I could go on a rabbit hole about it. My husband is like, you didn't watch the movie. I was like, I was getting a lot of historical context here. Uh, and
Yeah.
so and so what's nice is that that land the government already owned. So yeah, the question is, why Livingston, Louisiana? And in an easy way is that we could purchase cheap flatland.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
So there's one in here in Livingston and there's one in the state of Washington, right?
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so in the mid 90s, as when construction started, I do believe, I think it was
Correct.
1994.
That's when it went, and then we broke ground in 95.
Yeah, 95, the year I graduated high school. And but I didn't find out about this till way later when I got interested in science and started following Neil deGrasse Tyson. And the first discovery wasn't made until 2010, right?
Uh 2015.
2015. Okay, so you turned on, no. So the first discovery was made in 2015.
The
Wow.
first detection was 2015. Correct.
Okay. So that is a significant amount of elbow grease there. Well, I think it was 2010 whenever I think they took the whole thing down and rebuilt it.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so we did upgrade. So
Right.
as good science does, we are always upgrading. We're always trying to improve. So with that timeline, so like the proposals, everything got accepted like 92, 93, 94. We broke ground in 95. We were done building the lab site in 99. And then we turned on everything for the first time in 2002.
Yeah.
And so from 2002 to 2010 is what we call initial LIGO, where they ran it and we learned a lot of things. And so in that gap you had mentioned between 2010, and so we turned it back on in 2015, we got our first detection in that, almost in a what we call an engineering run, which is like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
So we're just making sure everything is working. The scientists do a lot of tests, like dropping textbooks and making sure that we can still see signals, even though we have these like vibrational disturbances. And so, yeah, we had to learn a lot from
Yeah.
initial LIGO. And so, but like good scientists do, they are always looking to improve. How do we fix small problems? How do we fix big problems? How do we make better? How do we make the how do we make the whole thing just better? So we are in the last part of our current observation run until November, and we'll come offline again to make some big improvements as well.
Wow. Okay. So they worked on this thing for from about 1995 to 2010. Uh, and they were like, okay, we gotta upgrade some stuff. So they go back in, they work on it 4 or 5 years, they turn it back on, and pretty much as soon as they turn it on, they they detect a gravitational wave. Now, let's explain to the audience how small one of these waves are that's traveling through the fabric of space-time. Uh, how would you give an example to a fifth grader of how small is this thing that we are trying to see?
It is smaller than the subatomic particles that make matter. So if we're right, if it's a student, I just, and this is even too big of a scale, but imagine trying to measure the displacement of water if you added one drop of water to Lake Pontchartrain.
Okay, so how
No,
much
it's
change of in
not
the
much
entire lake would there be if you
by
dropped
adding
one
one drop of
drop
water,
of water?
right? So
Holy
that
cow.
it's a big, it's a wild, wild concept to try to
Oh,
understand,
that's pretty wild.
but it's even smaller than that. So the first detection moves 1/1000th the diameter of a proton, which is an insane sentence.
And so this is why Einstein was like, no, we'll never be
Yeah,
able to.
to the amount of detail, like there's no way. And then so I like to
Holy.
joke that we proved Einstein right, wrong and correct. Like, no, we were able to create and do this project and make an instrument to do this, but you were also right that these gravitational waves exist.
So the crazy thing is that now we see them happening quite often, right? Like these things we are measuring, we're not really seeing, but we now we've I don't know, hundreds of them. How many have you guys been able to detect now?
We have had over 200 detections since the first one.
Wow.
So that's about
Wow.
200 over the last 10 years.
And then as of most recently, I think uh there was a detection where these the spinning was so intense that it's pretty much right at the edge of what physics would allow, the spinning of these black holes that was detected in the most recent detection. I saw some news articles that was released a few weeks ago or maybe a couple months ago, but it was pretty recent. And so that leads me to say, like, where can this science take us?
That's a great question, and it's pretty open-ended. There are scientists, some scientists want to know like what is at the edge of our universe, what's going on in our universe, and it can be as wide as what's going on, understanding the Big Bang or understanding other just wild concepts of astronomy, to also how can we make the most sensitive instrument on the planet, which can also have like industrial applications as well.
That's what I was thinking
So
because, I mean, you would have had to invent so many things to just build this,
mhm.
right? I mean, because essentially these mirrors are hanging in this tube, stabilized by all of these, for lack of better words, shock absorber systems, so
Mhm.
that these mirrors don't move at all. And they are perfectly aligned to a level of perfection that even Einstein thought we couldn't do. So all of the materials that had to be developed and invented, right? So if you have a kid who's maybe scientifically interested or inclined, and maybe would want to look at like, hey, where are some of the fields? Most everybody's mind today is on AI, but maybe this is, how big is this field getting? And what is the actual field called when you're studying things like this?
So this would be astrophysics. would be a lot of it, but there were more, it's more than just astrophysics, astronomy, and physics. Our staff here, between our site, Hanford, and anyone associated with the project is really wide varying. So yeah, you have physicists, astrophysicists, astronomers. You also have engineers. You have detection engineers. You have vacuum engineers. You have technicians. You have, there's just so it's
All of the
because
material sciences probably too.
exactly. And then all the, like, where does all that data go? Computer scientists had to build these systems or improve on existing systems to be able to take in all this data. How do we interpret the data? So there is data analysis, there's IT, there's so much that goes into this project. And so what I loved about science and what I've always loved about teaching when I was a teacher for science is that, like, if you are interested, no matter the age, from itty bitty to an always learner. Like I always joke with adults, like, you're my big scientist because you're never done learning and you should never
Yeah.
be done learning. Just get into it and just, like, if you're find it interesting, just go. There's someone who is doing something and they would love to answer your questions. And so what's really nice is that we do have so we have like our staff here, and then we do have like a rotating cast of graduate students, PhD students. We have fellows who will come from different universities and work here for a couple months because their project is just one itty bitty piece of this gigantic puzzle. And so they get to be a part of that as well. So I don't have a good answer because there's a lot of parts to it.
Well, I mean, that's a good answer, but so let's dig into this part of it a little bit more. The gravitational wave research, that is really a new part of astrophysics, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so you could specialize in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, you
okay.
could.
And then all of these other branches of the scientific community converge to build the machine. So, and the facilities, all of it. So, what do you guys have there on site for kids to come see, for adults to come see, to come visit? You have a setup with I don't know. Do you do like a tour? What do you do?
Yeah, so we are open to the public the first Saturday of every month. So it'll be August 2nd, right? Is this for this month? Um, and then September 6th. And so the first Saturday every month, we are open to the public. It is called Science Saturday. We're open 10 to 4, and we do have tours that go around. So our staff does it. So it's either the outreach staff or a staff scientist or a grad student. So you could come multiple times to have a different tour because you're just getting someone else's perspective on it. So, like, they really know about the instrument and they can tell you a lot about it. Whereas, like, for me, for an outreach, I can give you a lot of the basics and then point you in the right direction to who's going to have more information about that. And so Science Saturday, and then we do like a rotating theme. And so we have hands-on activities in our lobby that kids love and that adults love too. And then we also have what we call our exhibit hall is full of about 40 exhibits. So it's like a small science museum. And most of those exhibits have been built by the Exploratorium, which is a science museum in San Francisco. They are one of our partners when it comes to the Science Education Center. So Science Saturday is the best thing. And then for teachers who might be listening, we offer field trips during the school year. Those you have to put a request in, and then we over the summer we do teacher workshops. And so we do about two week-long teacher workshops over the summer on to science concepts, and then we also link them back to LIGO and like the kind of the LIGO science. And so, and the goal of that is just to improve content knowledge for teachers. When I was a teacher, I used to come to these workshops and I would bring my students here on field trips. But Science Saturday is open to the public, 10 to 4, and then we have tours that go out all the time.
So, if you want to come on a Saturday, should you pack a picnic basket, or do you guys have a little refreshments or
We have a water fountain, and that is about it. There's nowhere to purchase food or drink on site. And so, yeah, if people are coming, pack a lunch or a snack. We do have a covered pavilion that is available to people. And then there's also kind of like the kind of eatery shops or like the diners and stuff around Livingston. But I would just be prepared, right? If you suffer from hunger, be prepared for that.
Yeah. All right. So all of this got put together. This was a project that was really birthed with Einstein and then really enhanced in the 70s, gets funding in the 90s, and ends up in Livingston Parish, which is pretty cool,
Mhm.
if you're from here and you live here. And so I'm highlighting that we have Caltech involved, we have MIT involved, we have the National Science Foundation involved, because there's so much negativity in the public sphere about some of these institutions, right?
Mhm.
But yet here we are, right in our backyard, which most people that live here don't even know. And this is from these major institutions that fairly get some criticism. I'm not saying it's not fair, but there's another side to it. There's employment, there's career opportunities. Does the LIGO facilities employ anybody from the local community?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
So
go
yeah.
ahead.
No, you go. You're good.
Well, I would imagine also we're bringing in people to our community from elsewhere who come from maybe Canada or another country or California, Chicago, from these major institutions that come and visit, that come and work here for maybe a year, maybe 6 months, right? All of that's happening. So it is a piece of the economic engine as well, right?
Correct.
It's a big investment. What kind of money are we talking about for something like this? Like when it was kicked off, like 100 million, a billion. What do you know?
Yeah, so LIGO is the National Science Foundation's largest investment.
Oh, wow.
And so we're about $1.1 billion at this point, but we've also been in operation, right, over the last 30 years from since the kickoff, since we were breaking ground. And yeah, so what I love a lot, like one of the things I love the most about LIGO and its position in Livingston is that, yeah, it is this cutting edge technology. We have one I say we like I was a part of it, but we have the site and the founders won a Nobel Prize in physics, which is your Super Bowl, your highest award that you can have in science, and it was done here in the backyard. And like while I'm not originally from Louisiana, I've lived here for the last 13 years, and I love that it's here because places like this deserve to have high science being done in their community and being a part of their community and us being a part of the community as well. And so, especially when we have like Science Saturdays, people will bring their church groups, their scouts. We had a lot of book clubs, just historical societies, and they just want to come. And it's the science is here for everyone, and it's such a great opportunity that we are here because, right, LSU is also involved. We have involvements from other universities across the state, across the country, and across the world, and it does bring in different people that and ultimately end up staying and living here.
Do you have any idea of what the scientists themselves now, with all of the observations, imagine we might be able to do with this observation? Okay, now we know for sure there's gravity waves. We know for sure that space-time moves in this way, is affected in this way by these gigantic mass objects. Do you have any inclination of kind of what might that lead to?
That's a great question. I think it is open-ended. I know right now the kind of focus is expanding our range. And by our range, like how far out in the universe are we able to detect these things, right? We can't see everything. And so this morning I actually did the math, and our current range right now is 175 megaparsecs. And a megaparsec is one of those units where like I could give you the number with the units that we traditionally use just like as people. And that would be ready for this. So the how far out we can see is 3.346 trillion, which feels like a made up number, but it's not. It is 3.3 times 10 to the 21st. So we are adding 19 zeros to 3.34, which
Wow.
is an
Is that
enormous
miles,
number.
kilometers? What is that?
That would be miles.
Miles. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how many miles out we could see out into the universe.
Say that number
But
again.
ooh, 3.346 trillion miles is our range.
6 trillion.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a
I
big
don't even know.
it
Yeah.
it feels made up
It feels
because
incomprehensible. Yeah.
yeah, because like and what other way do we encounter these numbers in our regular life?
Yeah.
And we
Well,
don't.
a lot of
So we
times,
call it a megaparsec.
okay. And a lot of times people talk about that in distance of light years too, right?
Yeah, so a megaparsec in light years, it is 3.36 light years is a parsec, and then a megaparsec is a million parsecs.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's fun
so
because a light year is a measure of distance,
this
not
upgrade, this upgrade, you guys are going to try to see out further. Is that
Mhm.
part of it?
Yes. And
What
so to be
else?
able to see out further is to increase our sensitivity to
Ah,
things that are out that far. Right. So
okay.
we're waiting as the lab, we're waiting. We are stationary on Earth and we're waiting for those waves to come through, but we can figure out how far out they are coming from to help us figure out where in the universe are they coming from. And so we have we are one of two labs that are stateside. And then we work as a collaboration. There is another interferometer in Italy. And that organization is called Virgo, and there's one in Japan called Kagra, and we all work together. So Virgo and Kagra might be working on adapting things that we have done on the instrument or a computer program. So it's a lot of free, um, just like talk about how do we implement this better. And so there are plans to build another LIGO. It'd be LIGO India, and that would help us like get information from the southern hemisphere to see where that's coming from. So there's a lot of people that work on this to make it better. And so our next upgrade period will come offline in November to start those upgrades, start some upgrades.
Perfect. So if we come over there, we can do a tour. We can visit this. You've got a small museum set up. What the kids can ask questions. They can learn about lasers and all of this interesting science. So I'm excited about it. I'm happy that we got to talk today. I'm really proud and happy that this is a part of our community. What would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. This was really great. And yeah, so LIGO is open to the public the first Saturday of every month, 10 to 4. Last tour goes at 2:30. And we love when the people come and ask questions. Sometimes we get the best questions from the most surprising people, which usually tends to be the little ones. And so we love being here for the community and getting people's interest in science, like sparked or continuing. And that way, right, we can continue to grow as a community, and especially in the scientific community, including everyone that is one of our partners. We are doing a celebration for our 10-year anniversary in September, so that'll be a special one. But I know football season starts very soon. So first Saturday, we'll be here. We love when the people come.
Perfect. And how do people get in touch with you guys if they want to schedule something with their class as a teacher, or they bring their group out there, or other questions they might have?
The best way to do it would be to email us. Our email is outreach@ligo-law.caltech.edu, or if you Google LIGO Livingston and then whatever you're looking for,
Google
you'll get to the
LIGO
answers.
Livingston, and that email, we will put that email in the show notes.
Perfect.
That sounded like a
Um,
long one. I'm not going to make you say it again.
yeah. And then yeah, so I say put the LIGO Livingston if you Google it, because if you don't, you might end up getting information for our Hanford
Yeah,
site, and they don't do it on the same days that we do. So that would be the best way.
totally. LIGO Livingston, everybody. And so thank you, Sophia, for coming today. What a fun thing to be doing. I wish I had your job. I'll trade you. And we'll go from there. So,
Yeah.
again, everybody, thank you for being here, for stepping up on the porch and listening today. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you've got something relevant to our local culture, to charity events, we are here for you. Step up on the porch, use your voice, and speak up. There's so many interesting people doing great things in our community. So please come on, tell your story, be known. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Parish Porch. We want to continue bringing this content to you. And if you had fun and you enjoyed the story and you learned new things, please consider supporting our show by clicking on the support show link, which will be in the show notes. Support show link. That'll help us keep rolling. That'll help us keep going. It'll be a fun journey as we grow. If you want to talk to us directly and maybe become a guest, email us at parishporch@gmail.com. This show is sponsored by JW the Builder, a licensed general contractor with a roofing division. We're doing roofs all over Ascension, Livingston, and East Baton Rouge. And we have another show called the 90 Up Challenge podcast, where we focus on real estate investing, growth, sales, personal growth, and business entrepreneurship. Last but not least, it's your voice. Jump on the porch and speak up.